Okay, guys, as you can tell by the title, we have a bit of an interesting topic to cover today. So, if you guys remember, I talked about this like a week and a half, going on 2 weeks ago now, about the news that broke on John Warden's LinkedIn page on April 9th, saying that he's returning to the Transformers brand, but also joining the G.I. Joe brand at Hasbro as the director of product design. And that's stirred up quite a bit of, to say the least, we'll just say controversial posts and hysteria and absolute madness within the Transformers community on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, on every freaking place you can imagine on the internet, TFW 2005, the list goes on. You know, the initial video that I put out when the news first broke, I was talking about how we don't know what this could entail just yet. If you guys look up the meaning of director of product design, I'll throw up an image of the definition that I got from Google right here. It's basically overseeing and leading the product design process. So he's basically top dog now with the Transformers and G.I. Joe designing process. He's in on what Mark and Evan and Sam are doing. He's telling them what to do, what not to do, giving them pointers and so on. So this could heavily impact the Transformers toy lines in either a positive way or a negative way. And I talked about this a little bit in my last video, but I really want to cover what us fans in the community have been saying since the news broke a week and a half ago. So there's two sides. There's one side that is hopeful for the future after 2026, because for those of you that don't know, the current team is working on stuff through 2026. So basically, we're not going to see too many changes on John Warden's part until later on in 2026 or early 2027 at the latest. Which leads into the fact that may be true that they've been so deep into what they've been doing with Generations. By 2027, that would be 8 years with these design philosophies and these new characters and all these different universes they've been bringing in since Kingdom. It just wouldn't make sense to make a complete 180 or a complete 360 back to what they were doing before, when arguably sales were kind of dipping in that weird period between 2015 to like 2018. So from that standpoint, you could see why there's a chance that things likely aren't going to change. But then there's another side of the spectrum that is saying, well, if you look at what John Warden did before Siege, his reign from 2014 to 2018, before they brought in the new scaling, the new design philosophy, the new articulation with Siege, that was a rough period, and he was top dog. He was the leader on pretty much almost all of that, basically. And there were some pretty bad figures during that era. Some of the worst Generations figures that were ever made during the Prime Wars trilogy. And Prime Wars trilogy, again, was mostly G1 with the occasional crappy repaint into a character from either Beast Wars or Unicron trilogy, such as Armada Optimus, the semi-weird leader class Optimal Optimus, and probably a few other figures I'm forgetting, with your dabble in the current IDW comics and characters and whatever was going on then they would implement into the toys. But other than that, it was mostly pretty much just G1 stuff. Totally ignoring Beast Wars, totally ignoring Unicron Trilogy, Animated, Prime, all that stuff that we've come to know to be included into the current modern day Generations philosophy. So those are the two ways that you could take it for John Warden returning to Transformers. I do want to bring up, because I know it's like people seem to just like totally forget this. But he was one of the main guys who brought in the current design philosophy we had that we've gotten since Siege. There's going to be people like trying to question me on that, but guys, they've said, even the new guys, Mark and Evan and all that stuff, they've said in live streams the past couple years and this year that they're continuing the same design philosophy that they started in Siege. It doesn't matter if John Warden isn't on the team anymore or if there's new guys on the team. They're still continuing what they started in Siege. It's not unfair to compare what John Warden did compared to what Mark and Evan and these new guys are doing, because it's supposed to be the same scaling, the same sort of engineering on these figures. Now, it would be unfair to compare stuff pre-Siege, I agree with that, but I'm talking about the positives that John Warden brought back to Transformers from 2019 to early 2022 until he left. He brought in the new design philosophy with the better, more streamlined engineering for transformation and for articulation and the overall look and sculpt of the characters. He brought in the whole multi-universal thing with Generations. He brought that back, I should say. He didn't bring it in because they did that prior until Prime Wars started. He brought that whole concept back. You know, he introduced Beast Wars into Kingdom. He jump-started Legacy, which obviously included, you know, Unicron Trilogy, Prime, the first year it started. So he was behind all that stuff, basically. So I cannot honestly 100% sit here in this video and say that things are going to go back to 100% G1 like what it was during Siege, Earthrise, and Prime Wars. I cannot say that because he is the one was in charge basically during Kingdom, during the jumpstart of Legacy, and I just don't see things changing once he comes into play and starts meddling with plans going forward later on in 2026 and going into 2027. So with that being said, just looking at the facts and looking at what I just stated about John Warden's career earlier on in the Transformers brand before his return, I think we're going to be fine. I honestly don't see things changing unless, I do want to bring up this point as well, unless the higher-ups above John Warden, the executives, whoever else you want to call, they want to go back to G1. Because in these idiots' eyes, these executives and the people above these toy designers, all they see is G1 equals absolute cash cow. And Hasbro is hurting right now. That's just the fact. Their sales are super low outside of Transformers and G.I. Joe, because their recent reports have stated that Transformers and G.I. Joe have been selling among the best out of their failing brands. And that includes Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black Series, those real top dog brands that Hasbro owns. But again, these guys, these higher-ups, they are desperate for as much money as possible, and all they see in the past is G1 equals automatic pre-orders sold out that same day. If you look at what's been going on the past couple years with the Dinobots, Gears sold out pretty much instantly. All these G1 characters, Beachcomber, Bombshell, Shrapnel, all these recent G1 characters that have been redone in the current design philosophy, they've sold out almost instantly. And they see that and they compare it to some of these Beast Wars or Unicron Trilogy updates that either take a few months to sell well or they take a year to sell well once they go on discount. I mean, that doesn't happen often. It happens occasionally. Those are honestly isolated. It's still a bit more than what we get with G1. G1 tends to sell out more because obviously there's a bigger fan base for it, because it's sort of also Hasbro's fault because they've been marketing nothing but G1 to young kids and young adult collectors for over a decade before things changed, in 2022 with Legacy. So it's sort of Hasbro's fault with how things sell and how G1 sort of has a monopoly on certain things sometimes. But these guys, they're so dumb. Just trust me. These guys are so dumb that they're not even looking at some of that stuff, and they're just thinking about and they're looking at how well G1 sells, and they're like, man, we gotta bring back G1. We gotta go back to what we were doing during Siege and Earthrise and even Prime Wars. We gotta do all these G1 characters. We gotta redo Starscream. We gotta redo Soundwave, Shockwave. This is also what they're thinking too. Don't get me wrong, they're probably also thinking about how they gotta keep things the way they are because they're still really, really selling well, and it's bringing in all these new collectors and people buying the product that we didn't see before. They're looking at that too, but again, they're also looking at the side of anything that's G1 that's done well is an instant cash cow, probably a greater cash cow than some of the best Unicron Trilogy or Beast Wars updates we've gotten the past couple years. So there's that side of it as well. And, you know, when I think about that, it's weird, man. I don't know what to expect. But honestly, in my opinion, I think we'll be fine for at least a couple years after. You know, time will tell. Who knows what Hasbro has in store. These guys higher up that are in charge of the toy designers and what goes, you know. Things could change. It could go back to G1, but it also couldn't at the same time. But I think at least for a couple years for John Warden's new start, things will be fine for other universes outside of G1. But again, who knows? Hasbro is super random. They're kind of dumb a lot of the time. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I don't want to ramble on too much longer. Let me know down in the comments below what y'all think about this whole debacle. Do you guys think all the other universes are totally going to go away, or do you think they're going to stay? All my social medias are linked down below. If you guys want to subscribe to my new Patreon, link down below. It's got tons of exclusive content that you won't see here on YouTube or any of my other social media accounts, such as exclusive stop motions, Transformers photography. You guys get 1 week access before anybody else here on YouTube to my stop motion films. You guys get Discord access. You guys get sneak peeks at music I'm working on for my stop motion films, dioramas, videos I'm working on, all that good stuff. So if you guys want to help support me and help support the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye!